The last ration card. The city was cold. Too cold. The wind howled between broken buildings, and the sky was always gray. Snow covered everything. Cars, signs, even people who had fallen and never stood up again. Eli Carter walked slowly through the frozen street. His coat was old and full of holes. His boots had no grip. But he was used to it. Everyone was. This was Earth now, cold, broken, and dying. In his pocket, Eli had one last ration card. Just one. Enough to buy a small loaf of bread or a hot drink. He had saved it for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. Now he was hungry. Really hungry. His stomach growled like a wild animal. But he kept walking, looking around the market street. The market wasn't a real market anymore. Just a few people sitting behind broken crates, selling whatever they had left. Old tech. Crushed cans. Frozen meat of unknown origin. And clothes mostly ragged and dirty. Eli saw a small fire burning in a metal barrel. A few people stood near it trying to stay warm. And that's when he saw her. She sat near a broken wall, knees pulled to her chest, arms around her body. She wore a thin silver cloth, almost see-through. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were closed. Her body shook. She was not human. Eli knew her kind. Valari. One of the alien races that had come to Earth during the war. Most humans hated them now. They were blamed for everything, the destruction, the cold, the fall of the great cities. People said they brought the war here, and that they were dangerous. But this alien was freezing. Dying maybe, and no one cared. A man laughed near Eli. "Look at that thing," he said. "She should have died with the rest of her kind." Eli didn't reply. He just looked at her. The way her hands curled tightly, the way she tried to hide her face. He could see she was afraid. Alone. He stepped forward. People stared. One woman grabbed her child and pulled her away. Eli ignored them. He knelt beside the alien woman and took off his scarf. She opened her eyes slowly. They were bright silver. For a moment, she flinched, expecting pain or anger. But Eli didn't hurt her. He gently wrapped the scarf around her shoulders. "You're cold," he said softly. "You'll freeze to death." She didn't answer. Maybe she didn't understand. Or maybe she didn't trust him. Eli looked around. A small shop stood nearby, still selling clothes. Nothing fancy, just old jackets, blankets, gloves. The owner looked at him with suspicious eyes. Eli reached into his coat and pulled out his last ration card. "1 blanket," he said. The owner raised an eyebrow. "You sure? You can buy 2 meals with this." Eli nodded. "I'm sure." The blanket was thin but better than nothing. He returned to the alien woman and wrapped it around her gently. She was still shaking, but a little warmth returned to her face. Some people whispered. One man spat on the ground. "Helping the enemy, huh?" he said. "Should have let her die." Eli stood up. He didn't argue. He was too tired for that. He looked down at her again. Her eyes watched him, confused. Not scared now, just confused. He held out his hand. "Come with me," he said. She stared at him for a moment. Then slowly, carefully, she reached out her hand and placed it in his. Her fingers were ice cold. Eli helped her stand. She was weak, barely able to walk. But she followed him, step by step, as they left the market street. Snow fell heavier now. The sky rumbled like it might storm soon. Eli didn't speak much as they walked through narrow alleys and broken buildings. He didn't know what to say. He didn't even know why he had helped her. Maybe he was tired of watching people die. Maybe he was tired of hate. Or maybe he just didn't want to be alone anymore. After 10 minutes, they reached his small shelter. An old auto garage with metal walls and no windows. Inside it was dry but cold. Eli lit a small fire and placed some scrap wood inside. He handed her a metal cup with warm water from his kettle. She drank slowly, carefully. He watched her silently. After a long pause, she spoke. Her voice was soft. Strange. "Why help me?" Eli shrugged. "Because no one else did." She looked down at the fire, then back at him. "My name, Lyra." Eli smiled a little. "I'm Eli," he said. Outside, the wind howled again. But inside, For the first time in many days, it felt a little warmer. The fire cracked softly in the metal barrel. Outside, the wind screamed like a warning, but inside the garage, it was quiet. Eli Carter sat on the cold floor, across from her. The alien woman he brought home, wrapped in a dirty blanket, holding a warm cup like it was the only thing keeping her alive. She hadn't spoken since they got here. Eli watched her without speaking, not staring, just studying her carefully, like a mechanic examining a machine he didn't fully understand. Her skin was a soft blue-gray. Thin lines glowed faintly near her collarbone, like veins of light. Her eyes, silver and full of storms, flicked around the room, alert, but not afraid anymore. More tired, more haunted. He finally spoke. "You sleep. I'll keep the fire going." She shook her head slowly. "Sleep is not safe." Her voice was strange, like music but broken, like someone learning how to speak with a cracked instrument. Eli leaned back against the wall. "Well, neither is being awake." Silence again. After a while, she looked at him and asked, "Why did you help me?" Eli thought about it, about how he gave up his last ration card, how people stared at him like he was crazy, how the world taught him not to care. "I don't know," he said finally. "Maybe because you looked like someone who didn't deserve to die alone." She didn't smile, but something softened in her face. "I had a name," she whispered, almost like a secret. "Before the war." He raised an eyebrow. "Still do, don't you?" She looked into the fire. The light danced in her eyes. "Lyra." Eli repeated it, testing the sound. "Lyra." She nodded once, then pulled something from under the blanket, a small pendant on a silver cord. It glowed faintly, not warm, not tech, something older. "What's that?" Eli asked. Lyra hesitated, then held it out. Eli leaned closer, but didn't touch it. Symbols floated just above the surface, shifting, glowing, disappearing. "It is memory," she said. "Yours." She nodded. "Mine, and others. My mate, my house." House. The word had weight. Not just a home, a bloodline, a legacy. Eli exhaled slowly. "You were someone important." Lyra didn't answer. She didn't need to. Suddenly, the wind outside stopped. Eli's ears twitched. He stood slowly. Something wasn't right. He moved to the metal door and peeked through a small hole. A drone. Small, black and silent. Hovering. Watching. His heart sank. "Lyra," he said quietly, "get down. Now." She dropped the pendant and crouched behind the barrels. Eli grabbed his coat, rushed to the corner and turned off all lights. The fire died to a flicker. He crouched beside her. "Did it see you?" he whispered. Lyra shook her head. "Maybe not, but it smells heat. Movement." Eli had seen these drones before, government issue. Not search and rescue. Search and destroy. After a tense minute, the soft hum faded. The drone flew away. Eli stood and locked the door with a metal rod. He turned back to Lyra. "You're not just a widow." Lyra didn't deny it. "They think I'm dead," she said. "I was supposed to die in the northern camp, with the others." "What others?" She looked up, and for the first time he saw something new in her eyes. Rage. "Children. Healers. My people." Her fingers tightened into fists. "They killed the males first, then the ones who still carried knowledge. We were too weak to fight, so they buried us with fire." Eli sat down slowly. "You escaped." "Barely. A human helped. He died." She looked at Eli now, long and steady. "You helped me too." "Why?" Eli didn't answer right away. He stared at the dead fire. Then, finally, "Because you're still alive, and I'm tired of helping death win." The garage was quiet again. Outside, the wind returned, softer now. Lyra reached out and placed the pendant back around her neck. Pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Then she looked at Eli. "I will not run forever." He looked back at her. "Then you won't have to." Fire rains from the sky. Valari towers, once tall and beautiful, crash into the sea. Screams echo as white drones slice through the air, scanning, locking, killing. In the middle of the chaos, a small group of Valari civilians runs through smoke. One stumbles. A healer stops to help. Her hands glow soft green. A human soldier watches from a distance. He speaks into a comm device. Target confirmed. Royal mark on the neck. She's not a civilian. Kill order confirmed. No arrest. No trial. Silent protocol. The comm replies, execute. No witnesses. His finger trembles on the trigger. But he lowers the gun. He whispers, she's just trying to save people. Then turns and walks away. Eli wakes with a jolt. His head hurts. The fire is out. Cold has crept into his bones again. He looks over. Lyra is sitting in the corner, still awake, still watching the door. You didn't sleep? He asks. She shakes her head. I don't sleep when hunted. Eli rubs his eyes. He feels like someone is watching them. Maybe it's paranoia. Maybe it's not. He gets up and powers on an old radio scanner. A broken machine half covered in rust. But it still works. Beep. Static. Click. Then something. Sector 9. Report. No sign of Valari target. Repeat. Search continues. Drones lost visual last night. Eli freezes. That's this sector. Order remains. No public notice. No arrest. If seen, eliminate quietly. She cannot reach others. Priority. Silent kill order confirmed. His hands tighten on the edge of the table. He looks at Lyra. They're not just hunting you. They're hiding you. She says nothing. Why? He asks, voice low. Lyra stands slowly. She pulls her coat aside and shows a faint tattoo on her neck. Glowing symbols that look like flowing stars. This mark, she says, means I belong to the royal line of House Vezari. Healers, scientists, peacemakers. Eli steps back slightly. Royalty. Not anymore, she replies. Now we are evidence. Eli doesn't understand. She walks to the table, places a small crystal from her pocket on the surface. It lights up and projects a soft image, a data map. Old Earth documents, military files, war records. He scans through them. What he sees makes his blood run cold. Human generals, planning attacks before the Valari even arrived. Resource wars, fake broadcasts, staged bombings. And one file marked red. Operation Frost Gate silence all remaining Valari leaders before peace accords. Eli looks at her. They never wanted peace. They wanted to wipe you out quietly, so no one would know the truth. Lyra nods. I carry that truth. A sharp knock on the garage door. 3 times. Then silence. Eli grabs a small pistol and walks slowly toward the door. A voice from outside calls. Eli Carter? Open up. We have a few questions. It's calm. Too calm. Eli peeks through a crack. 2 men in heavy coats. No faces visible. But no marks either, not government. Not rebels. Hunters. Bounty kind. He turns to Lyra and whispers. Hide. Now. She vanishes into the back room. Eli opens the door slightly. What's this about? One man smiles coldly. Cold night. You heard anything strange? Seen anyone new in the area? Eli shrugs. Just rats and ghosts. The man laughs. Ghosts, huh? Funny. Behind his back, the second man's device beeps. Faint blue light flashing. Valari trace detected. The hunter narrows his eyes. Mind if we take a look around? Eli's jaw clenches. I do, actually. The smile fades. That's the wrong answer, Carter. But before they can move, a sudden blast of heat hits the garage wall from inside. The men flinch. Eli uses the moment, slams the door shut and locks it. He runs back. Lyra is holding the glowing pendant. You just made us a target, Eli says. She nods. We already were. Eli packs a small bag. Batteries, old maps, a broken drone CPU, water, 2 energy bars. We're leaving. Tonight, he says. Lyra straps on a small satchel. Where? There's an old base outside the city. It's dead. But maybe not forgotten. Maybe we find help. She pauses. Or enemies? He shrugs. Both, probably. As they step into the night, snow falling again, Eli looks back one last time at his broken garage. The only home he had left. Now, he walks away with an alien fugitive who carries truth in her blood and a silent death sentence on her name. In the flickering light of a dying fire, Eli remembered a time when the sky wasn't broken. He remembered laughter in a barracks, boots thudding on steel floors, and a voice shouting, "You'll never beat me in hand-to-hand, Carter." That voice belonged to Jonas Vale, Eli's squad partner, his best friend, his shadow in every war zone. That was years ago, before the world went cold, before the silent orders, before the lies. Now that same voice would be coming for him. The road out of the city was dead. Eli and Lyra moved in silence through the underground tunnel. Pipes leaked. Rats watched. Drones above buzzed like angry insects. Eli checked his map again. Just a few kilometers to the old base. Lyra kept her eyes ahead. She was breathing heavier, slower. The cold was getting worse. Eli looked at her. "You okay?" She nodded, but her steps were slower now. He knew she was holding on with pure will. Suddenly, click, a laser dot hit the wall beside them. Eli shouted, "Down!" He pulled Lyra to the ground just as a flash exploded above. Heat, light, sound. Smoke filled the tunnel. Then a voice. "Carter, you always were a step ahead." Eli's blood froze. He knew that voice. From the smoke stepped Jonas Vale, older now, wearing a private military coat, rifle in hand. No badge. No government logo. Just the cold, confident grin of a man who had chosen a side. "Been looking for you," Jonas said. Eli stood slowly, shielding Lyra. "You're working for them now?" Eli asked. Jonas tilted his head. "Working? No. Freelancing. Less rules, better pay." He looked past Eli and spotted Lyra. "And that," he said, nodding at her, "is worth enough credits to live like a king." Eli's jaw tightened. "She's not a target. She's a survivor." Jonas raised his gun. "She's a kill order. You know that. You're ex-military, Eli. You know what this is. She's a healer. She saved me." Jonas scoffed. "You're soft now. That war ruined you." "No," Eli replied, voice hard. "It ruined you." Jonas stepped forward slowly. "I don't want to kill you, Eli. I just need her. Walk away. You've done enough." But Eli didn't move. He stood between Jonas and Lyra like a shield. "She carries proof," he said, "about what really happened, about what they did to her people. If that gets out," Jonas snapped, "that's why she has to die." He raised his rifle. But Eli was faster. Bang! He shot the barrel just enough to make Jonas drop the weapon. They fought, fists, elbows, old military moves. Rough, fast, brutal. Lyra watched, afraid to get close. Her pendant pulsed with every hit. Eli landed a hard punch, but Jonas swept his leg and brought him down. Breathing hard, Jonas pulled a knife and said, "You always were too human for this world." Then, a sudden light burst from behind him. Lyra stood with the pendant in both hands, eyes glowing faintly. "Enough," she whispered. The air around her shimmered. Jonas staggered, like gravity had shifted. He dropped the knife, fell to one knee. What is this?" he gasped. Eli stood, blood on his lip. "She's not a weapon," he said. "She's more than that." Jonas looked up at him, dazed. "Then why do we fear her?" Eli said quietly, "Because she reminds us what we used to be." They tied Jonas up and left him near a rebel signal flare. Someone would find him. Maybe he'd live. Maybe not. Lyra was quiet for a long time. Eli finally asked, "Why didn't you kill him?" She looked at him, tired but strong. "Because you didn't." They continued walking, slower now, until they reached a hill where the land opened wide. Below them, half buried in snow and vines, stood the old Earth military base. Tall fences, broken towers, and a rusted sign that read, "Outpost Echo, in service of peace." Eli whispered, "We made weapons here. Now maybe we can make something else." Lyra looked at the ruined base. "Home." Eli nodded. For now. Inside the base, as they searched for warmth, a terminal sparked back to life. A message blinked on the screen, repeating, "Unauthorized Valari signature detected. Broadcasting location. Response unit en route." Eli cursed. Lyra whispered, "They're coming." But behind the message, a second signal began to pulse. Different. Older. Valari code. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's not just them," she said. Eli looked at her. "You think someone else heard it?" She nodded. "My people. The ones still alive. They know now. I'm not dead." The snow came down like ash, soft, steady, and endless. Inside the ruins of the old base, Eli pulled aside a rusted steel door with both hands. It shrieked as it opened, like it hadn't moved in years. Behind it, darkness stretched deep, halls full of dust, wires hanging like dead vines, and old machines sleeping under blankets of ice. Lyra stepped in behind him. Her glow was faint tonight, like a candle running low. She was tired, weaker, but still walking. Eli flicked on a flashlight and led the way down a broken corridor. He had trained here once, back when Earth still believed in uniforms and flags, back when they thought they were the heroes. That illusion had died a long time ago. "This was a command outpost," he said quietly. "Storage, tech maps, maybe even escape plans." Lyra touched a wall as she walked. Her fingers left behind faint warmth, as if the place remembered her people, or still listened. They found an old control room. Dust covered every surface. The screens were black, but the main console, after a few hard hits, flickered to life. Eli leaned in. "Looks like the backup core still works." He typed. Slowly, carefully. A map appeared full of red zones, old warpaths, fallen cities. But one section blinked blue. A zone marked unreachable. No data. No signal. Just labeled, "Echo South Refuge?" Lyra's eyes locked onto it. "What is that?" she asked. Eli zoomed in. The coordinates pointed toward an underground region, far past the snowbelt. Deep, buried, maybe forgotten. "Some kind of dead zone," he muttered. "Or maybe a place they never wanted anyone to find." Behind them, the base lights flickered again. Another system came online. A secondary signal. Different. Not human. Lyra stepped closer. Her pendant began to hum, responding. A screen lit up with alien script. She stared. Eli asked, "What's it saying?" "Valari signal," she replied. "Encrypted, old, but real." "From who?" Lyra didn't answer for a moment. Then, "From survivors." Her hands trembled slightly as she translated. The message was broken but clear enough. "Healer Vezari, you live. Coordinates received. Movement impossible. Warships above. Will wait. Hold the light." Eli stood beside her. "They're trapped." She nodded. "And they think I'm the only one who can bring them back." He looked down at the blue point on the map. That had to be it. That's where the last Valari were hiding, waiting for someone to reach them, waiting for her. He sighed and rubbed his hands together. "Then we go south." But as they turned to pack, the base shook. Just a small vibration at first. Then louder. A low, distant hum. Not like drones. Not like ships. Something heavier. Eli ran to a broken window. Far in the white fog, black shapes moved. Large walkers. Twin lights on their heads. Snow boiling around their feet. "Recon mechs," Eli said under his breath. "They tracked us." He turned to Lyra. "How fast can you move?" She looked down at her hands. "Weak, cold." "Fast enough," she said. They ran. Down broken stairs. Through tunnels. Past old signs and collapsed gates. At one point, they stopped to help a small child hiding in the rubble. A survivor, orphaned, wrapped in wires like blankets. Lyra bent down, touched his shoulder. Her light returned for a moment, strong and gold. The child opened his eyes, smiled, then closed them again, breathing easy. Eli carried the boy on his back as they fled through the last tunnel exit. Just before it caved in behind them, snow burst around them as they emerged outside. The walkers were getting closer. But behind them, deep in the ground, something else woke up. A long-forgotten system. One last defense protocol, old Earth code combined with Valari energy. As the walkers approached the ruins, the base's surface panels began to glow. And then explode. Flames lit up the white horizon. Eli and Lyra didn't look back. They had no time to waste. No food left. A child now in their care. And only a broken map with a blinking blue light guiding their path. South. Toward the unknown. Toward the last hope. And behind them, the machines kept marching, slow, cold, and endless. But for the first time in a long time, Lyra smiled, because the light hadn't died yet, and someone was still waiting. Darkness, but not the kind that comes with night. This was the darkness of hidden rooms, locked files, erased names. Captain Ray Carter sat alone in the ship's command center. Everyone else was asleep, except him, except the files glowing on his screen, except the secret he had just found. Leary's real origin. It wasn't an accident. She wasn't born. She was built. Not in one day. Not by one person. But by a project blacklisted, buried, denied. Project Genesis. Hybrid Creation Initiative. Ray scrolled through page after page. Donor DNA from 2 alien species. Enhanced with human resilience. Programmed emotional patterns. Designed to be lovable. Designed to be controlled. And worst of all, she wasn't the only one. There were 12. Leary was subject 9. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. His chest felt heavy, like he was betraying her just by knowing. Then he heard soft footsteps. He didn't turn. "I couldn't sleep," said Leary's small voice. Ray closed the file and turned off the screen. Too late. She had already seen it reflected in the glass. "My number is 9? Ray stood. "Leary, was I made?" She wasn't crying. Her face was still. But her eyes, those bright green eyes, were stormy now. Swirling. Ray nodded, slowly. "Yes, but that doesn't mean. Am I real?" "You are more than real." Leary shook her head. "They made me so someone would love me. They built me to be good." Ray knelt in front of her. "They made your body, Leary, but they didn't make your heart." She looked away. "Then why do I feel broken?" He reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're not broken. You're strong. Stronger than anyone I've ever met." Silence fell between them. Then Leary whispered, "There's another one." I heard his voice. In my head. Ray's heart skipped. "When?" "Last night." He said I was not alone. Ray stood, alert now. "Then we need to move. Fast." Elsewhere. General Tyven stood in front of a large holomap. He tapped a red dot glowing in the center. A hidden lab in orbit around Jupiter. Inside it, Subject 12. The perfect hybrid. The one who didn't cry, didn't question, didn't need love, only orders. "We bring him online in 48 hours, Tyven said. "Then we send him after 9. An officer beside him frowned. "You're sending a weapon? To retrieve another weapon?" Tyven smiled. "No, I'm sending a mirror. To show her what she really is." Back on the ship, Ray gathered Lena, Jonah, and Leary's mother in the briefing room. He showed them what he found. The files. The recordings. The names of the scientists who ran the Genesis project. At the top of the list was one name. Dr. Eli Varon. Ray paused. "Does anyone know that name?" Lena's eyes narrowed. "He disappeared years ago. Vanished during the peace talks." Jonah added, "Rumor was he worked on hybrid research. The kind even the military wouldn't touch." Ray turned to Leary's mother. "Do you know him?" She didn't speak at first, then nodded slowly. "He was kind at first. Gentle. Said he wanted peace. He said Leary would be the bridge between our worlds. But when she started showing emotions, real ones, he changed." "What happened?" Ray asked. Her voice shook. "He said she was too human, too soft. He wanted her rewritten. But I ran. I hid her. They caught me. But not her." Ray stared at the screen. Dr. Varen. The man who started it all. And the man who might still be alive. We find him, Ray said. And we end this. Later, Leary sat alone by the window again. The stars looked different now. Not peaceful. Not beautiful. Just distant. She touched the glass. I'm not like them, she whispered. I'm not like anyone. Then, faintly, a voice in her head again. That's because you're the strongest of us all. But even stars can be used to burn. Leary's hand dropped. Outside the ship, a small drone floated just beyond view. Watching, listening, and waiting for the order to strike. The snow had stopped falling. For the first time in weeks, the sky above wasn't gray. It was soft, pale blue, as if the planet itself had paused, just long enough to breathe. Eli opened his eyes. Pain spread through his shoulder. His body ached like it had been crushed by history, but he was alive. He was lying on something soft, a mat of strange moss, glowing faintly green. Warm, healing, not human-made, not earth-grown. Valari. He turned his head slowly. The child they had saved was curled beside him, fast asleep. A soft pulse of light glowed near the boy's chest, some kind of biowrap, keeping him warm, keeping him safe. Then Eli looked to the other side. Lyra sat by a pool of liquid light, her feet in the water, her head tilted back to the sky. Her pendant hung around her neck, motionless now, silent, like it had finally completed its purpose. He sat up, groaning. She turned and smiled, tired, but whole. You made it, she said. Didn't do it alone, Eli replied. They were surrounded by what remained of the Valari. Only a few dozen. Old, young, wounded but alive. Hidden beneath the ice, they had built a secret refuge powered by light and memory. Buried so deep the war machines couldn't find it. Now it had become something else. Not just a hiding place. A beginning. Eli walked with Lyra through the sanctuary. Valari engineers worked beside a few human rebels, those who had followed the signal, who had stopped believing the lies. They spoke in different tongues, but their hands moved the same. Rebuilding, repairing, remembering. One of the engineers handed Eli a data slate. It held everything Lyra had saved. War files, peace documents, hidden orders, lists of the dead. The truth, raw and real. You could release this to the network, the engineer said. Expose the ones who lied. Burn their world down. Eli stared at it for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No, he said. Not burn it down. Grow something new. He handed it back. Use it to teach, to remind, to stop them from doing this again. Later, they stood together at the edge of the valley, Eli, Lyra, the child between them. Below, a small group of humans approached on foot, hands raised, unarmed. Pilots, medics, even former soldiers. Not here to fight. They had heard the signal. They had come looking for truth. Lyra stepped forward. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. She just placed her hand on the child's back and whispered, Go! The boy walked down the hill, alone, toward the strangers. They knelt when they saw him. He was the firstborn of two worlds. Human-raised, Valari-marked. No one had told him what to be, and so maybe he could become something better. Eli watched the moment in silence. He didn't know what kind of world would come next. He only knew it had a chance now. A real one. Beside him, Lyra spoke without looking. Do you regret it? Spending your last ration card on me? He laughed quietly. Best trade I ever made. She smiled, then whispered, Come home with me. He turned to her, surprised. She wasn't asking for shelter. She was offering it. And for the first time in years, Eli Carter felt warm. Not because of fire. Not because of light. Because of something harder to kill.